Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. You know, if you like your morning runs in the low 30s, because it's chilly in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Hats, gloves, arm sleeves, and if you're old school, maybe just a dash of olive oil, like a light covering. I'm John Anderson, and welcome to the 2022 NCAA Cross Country Championships. It is one of running's best days, presented here on this day by the U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. We got cold weather, but we have hot competition. Guaranteed to have two new individual champions, and as far as the team race goes, serious challenges to both NC State and NAU. Oh, I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going our way. The finest and the fittest. From start line to the finish chute, it's college athletics' ultimate test. 80-plus years of champions and legends and legacies. Today, more than 500 runners on course for more history in Stillwater, Oklahoma. The race is on. The 2022 NCAA Cross Country Championships on ESPNU right now. Great shots, a great view here of the Greiner family, Oklahoma State University cross country course. Of course, when you think about it, everything's prettier if you're not in oxygen debt. It is the second time we have been here in 20 months for the NCAA Cross Country Championships. I like to just call it, you know, the Natty. I am John Anderson, pleased to be joined by the experience and the expertise of Carrie Tullison, Olympian, 1997 winner of this event, and Kyle Merber, the former American college record holder at 1,500 meters. He's also got Lap Count, Citius Mag. You're basically on social media near you.
I like talking about running on the internet.
There you go. Tell me, both of you, why you love this day and you love this race.
Oh my goodness, we came out of the hotel today and I said, it just smells like cross country. It's the big dance. This is the place you want to be. I wish I could still run this fast, but I can't, but it is just going to be an awesome day.
This is the one sport in college athletics in which all of the teams and athletes are competing on one day in one place. 255 of the best collegiate athletes are here. They're all in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and we're just going to match them up and see how we do.
Yeah.
It smells like cross country. It feels a lot like exhaustion. Here's how we fill out the field. We got 31 teams. 18 made it on qualifying. There's 9 regions, so the top 2 come through. Then you pull out 13 other at-large teams, 38 individuals that might come because they're great and their teams are not as good. But as Kyle said, basically, everybody who's good, everybody who is worthy will be on the line and ready to run today over 6K or 10K. The women go 6K, Carrie. We have elite talent, and we have a course that certainly will test their elite talent.
We do, and we're going to bring you through it right now. You know, you're going to get off the line and you have a little bit of a downhill, but then you start to climb, and you see these red marks on the course right here. Those are the hills, and there are hills, especially in the middle of this course. You're going to see the women, they go through and they do 2 3K loops, and this is really where they need to attack that last 5 kilometer at 6 kilometer. This is where you need to get up that hill at 5 kilometers and get through that 6 kilometer course. It is a tough one, it is a fast one, it's a hard one, but everyone is ready for it.
It's all those things, and we value your expert opinion, but let's hear from the folks who call this place home.
Advantage? I say the home course advantage isn't, it's more in the mental side of it and knowing how to manage your efforts. I think that's where I find the greatest advantage, if you can even say advantage over, because physically it's going to hurt everyone tomorrow. I mean,
regarding the course, it's definitely one of the more challenging courses, I think, in the NCAA, just with kind of the hills, and the footing's really nice, but I mean, the hills are the main thing that people talk about. I'm a believer that chance favors those who are prepared, and I think that's the biggest advantage we get being on our home course, is we're going to be more prepared than anyone else.
I feel like I ran like 50 workouts on this course this year, and I'm so prepared for it now. Everyone thinks it's awful. I don't think it's that bad. It's just another day at the course.
In general, do you like hills?
I mean, we prepared this course. We run it like every day, and we practice on it. We know how it's like. We know what to expect. And it's just about going out there and executing. It's like another day for us, another day at practice, really.
It is their home turf, and OSU is ready to defend it. Take a quick break now so that we can bring you the races uninterrupted. When we come back, we look at the champs and those looking to take down NAU in their bid for another three-peat. Like, if you didn't have to run, this is a great morning. You know, the sun is out, there's no wind. We did think about how cold it was going to be a factor, but like it's actually going to be pleasant. It's not going to be terrible to run out there at all.
I think we have it worse than the athletes.
I know. I want to run.
You've been complaining since you got off the plane and got a fancy sports car to get you to and from the course. We're about 14 minutes until race time for the women, and the men come along. They're going to go at 11:10 local time to watch them. Excuse me, 10:10 local time, 11:10 Eastern time. Is it possible to win 2 championships in a row, win 5 of the last 6, NAU, and come in and be an underdog?
It's tough. You know, Coach Mike Smith has just proven again and again that he can get it done on the right day. And the team this year, they have the firepower up front. We know that. We know that Nico Young's going to be in there. We know Drew Bosley's going to be in there. But who's going to step up and be that hero? That's the big question, I think, for NAU today, because there are teams that are coming for them. So who's it going to be?
You know, he talks about execution all the time, and I really like what he's done there. I mean, Flagstaff is the place to be. They have this culture there that is so exciting, and they just want to win. They don't love being an underdog, but he said it's where they're at right now. This is the season.
Due to where they train and their pinnacle in this, they are the kings of the mountains for sure. But let's talk about who's standing in their way. Who could be the ones to take home the trophy? And listen, Stanford's #1. Those guys are ballers.
They have those top 3 guys that are so strong. Can they finish the way they have been all season? They've been doing really well.
BYU is deep. They might be the team with the first 5 across and could still finish 3rd. But they are amazingly, they have 7 guys from within 30 miles of campus, which is fantastic. Weather is certainly going to be in their favor. And then we go back to Oklahoma State. Kyle, really, really good team.
We're going to talk about home field advantage a lot today. But the facts are that Oklahoma State has 3 guys who have done it before. 3 guys that we're going to expect to be in the running for the top 10. But they're going to be relying on guys who've only really done it on the track to come out here in the hills and do it today if they're going to get this done.
All right, well, we have both races gun to tape, commercial free, which is why we're going to sneak another one here, get a little more business done. Then we will return and we will talk about NC State, a possible repeat, and of course Caitlin Toohey, because you know what, she's dynamite. We are back here on ESPNU. Take a look at the finish line and our broadcast position, where eventually all these athletes will finish and we will call those races. We are about 10 minutes to the start of the women's 6K race here at the championship day. It's ladies first. And Carrie, first among the ladies, the defending champs, NC State.
You have to give them the nod first and foremost. They won their first NCAA championship last year, and Lori Hennis is so excited. She says, we don't really talk about being the defending champions. They don't really love that because each year is a new year. But I know they are ready, and they are the team to watch.
This is a little bit different of a team than we thought we would be getting during the preseason. They had a couple injuries, but a sign of a great team is having that depth and the ability to find new athletes to come in and step up. And they're still ranked #1 this year, and they've been just undefeated and unreal.
Nice to have depth. It's also great to have really big horses at the top, and they've got 2 that are great. Caitlin Toohey, who is unbeaten this season. But not to be outdone, really, is Kelsey Camille, who's right there because she's been their top finisher here at the NCAA championships the last 2 years. 6th on the championship squad, 9th year before on the runner-up squad.
You know what I love about these 2? They're both from upstate New York. They like the hills. They like the cold. So bring it on.
Kyle, bring me some New York grit right now.
You know, I'm just excited to see really talented high school athletes coming into the NCAA and still developing and being at the very top of their game. It's tough, you know, to be that good for so long and continue to improve, but they're finding a way to do it, and that's a lot of credit to Coach Hentz.
Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly Toohey has done that. You saw there she won the ACC championship going away, nobody around her. We got teams that aren't afraid to challenge, though. New Mexico, they brought out the turquoise. That means they mean business, and they're not scared.
Yeah, you know, New Mexico, they're saying that this is maybe the deepest team that they've ever had, and that's incredible when you consider that this is 12 years that they've been in the top 10 here. They just are interchangeable. They beat each other one day to the next, and they can definitely threaten NC State here. This is not going to be a runaway, and we saw that at Nuttycombe, in which they scored the same number of points. It came down to the tiebreaker. And so New Mexico, they are here, and we're going to just see where that pack moves up through the field, and I do think that they are one to benefit from that additional 1K we're going to see here in the 6K.
They won that mountain regional was really deep. The home team's really good for Dave Smith.
They are really good, and Dave Smith is super excited. No, Taylor, we got to give her the heads up here because you know what? She is Mama Bear. That's what we like to call her, or whatever else. But everyone is following suit for Taylor Rowe. Natalie Cook, one of the best high school runners we've ever seen. And I'm really excited to see this top 3 trio, but also the entire team here on their home course.
Yeah, Rose sets the pace. She'll be in the front, and so are these other gals. These are the lowest of the low sticks here, starting with Parker Valby.
Oh, man, she has had an incredible season. Last year, some ups and downs, but this year, coming into cross country, she is undefeated and just crushing every single race. The question mark here is, can she handle the hills, because she's from Florida and they run on flatter courses, and can she handle this cold? But she says, bring it on. I am not scared of any of those things.
You see her there at the SEC where she handled Mercy Chelengott, who was the 2020 champ right here in Stillwater, and just pounded out. She is so strong. This is her last college cross-country race. She hasn't had a bunch of high wins, but she's just kind of been in the high finishes, and she just seems to me like she's been biding her time, and that when she needs it here in this last race, I think she's going to produce something special.
And then you keep billing this as a 2-3 woman race, and we're forgetting about Kaylee McCabe. McCabe from West Virginia was 3rd here in 2021, and she is a steeplechaser. She's a true cross-country runner. She's undefeated this season, in many ways untested, although she is the Big 12 champion. And I think for her, the key is that she's going to be in that front pack, and she's going to want to make it tough. I think we're going to see her pushing the hills really, really hard early. She's from Canada. She was one of the only ones out here in a T-shirt yesterday. It was freezing. Everyone was bundled up, and she said that she's from the warm part of Canada, which I did not know existed.
Where's that?
Yeah.
And West by God, Virginia. Time to get them on the line and get them ready for the strides. We have every stride for you, live, without a break. We're ready for the starter's pistol after this. We are back for running. We want to remind you that on ESPN, we occasionally show the college football. Statement Saturday, jam-packed lineup, highlighted by number 3 Michigan hosting Illinois at the Big House. That's noon Eastern. Then C.J. Stroud, second-rate Ohio State take on Maryland on ABC. Plus number 9 Clemson hosts Miami. That's in Death Valley. And Hendon Hooker leads number 5 Tennessee against South Carolina on ESPN. I think they just scored against Missouri again. Huge college football playoff and conference championship game implications. It's all available also on the ESPN app. So as we get ready for this race, it's also a goodbye for one of the legends, one of the icons in coaching, Lance Harder, the women's coach at Arkansas. His final cross-country championship, 34 years with Arkansas. He's won this title. He's got 2 outdoor championships, 3 national championships. He also won 14 D2 national champs at Cal Poly. This guy's as good as it gets.
And you know what? He cares about his athletes. He cares about all of us. I was recruited by him. I loved my recruiting calls, but he still cared about me even though I didn't go there. You know, he's just a legend and a great guy, and we're going to miss him.
He asked you about your basketball expertise?
He asked me about my basketball, my trumpet playing, everything but running sometimes. You know, he just was a great guy.
Hall of Fame class of 2014 as we go to the starting line, and there's Oklahoma State. Rowe and Cook, do they have enough beyond that?
I think that they do. You know, we haven't seen the full strength of Oklahoma State this year. Coach Dave Smith has kind of been interchanging them at different meets, and so this is the first time that we're lining up with the absolute best 7.
You see 328 there. That's Billa Jeff Karuri, who's a freshman, one of the few Kenron runners he's had on this team, but she's a full-on baller. Look there at Washington and BYU. First, second the last 3 years. Diljit Taylor will have them prepared.
Yeah, she always has them prepared. She has them excited to run fast. You know, she hasn't been in the conversation a lot this year, but she never doubts the squad. She never doubts her squad, and we can't either. Yeah,
and they're coming off their big Boss Blazer dinner last night as they get ready. Georgetown's got a really nice team. You see them in the adjacent box. And then NAU, who Mike Smith has said, you know, if we can win in the men's program here so consistently, surely we can do it with the women. And he keeps building that program up again and again. And there's the familiar turquoise of New Mexico. Good students, good runners, good humans.
You know, we're looking at them as a pack right now, and I think we're going to see that turquoise pack once the race starts. They go out slow and they move up. It's easy when you're with your teammates to work together and find your way through the pack.
A couple of Big Ten schools there, right? We've got Sparty and then Wisconsin and some of the individuals as we go on down the line to get to eventually in box 18, which is kind of in the middle. There's 41 of them. You'll find the defending champs, NC State.
Wow, NC State just continues to, not surprise, to impress. You know, they have such a great squad. They lost a couple people last year, but Coach Hennis is like, no, we lost some great gals, but we also added some great gals. So this is going to be a really hard team to beat today.
And then finally in box 14, well, we can't see them down there. You're going to have, there's NC State. Just next to them in their box, next to the Wolfpack, is University of Virginia. And certainly those runners, those athletes running with extra emotion today after the tragic shooting of 3 football players Sunday in Charlottesville. And they have a small patch there you see on their left, upper left of the jersey with the number of the 3 fallen players. So Vinland and his squad runs for bigger things today for all of the Who's back in Charlottesville. It's time to go. Let's get the gun and the stampede. Not only is this the best race to see, that is such a great shot to start.
That is the best part, I think, of the race, besides breaking the tape or getting to the finish line. But it is like a mad dash to see who can get off the line, establish yourself, and this is that nice little part. You know, Kyle, you and I ran it yesterday. It is a nice little downhill, but it is fast.
It does get going quickly, and at this point in the race, the gun goes off, and then you take a deep breath. You're like, we're here. The thing that we've been thinking about for months and months that we've been working so hard for is suddenly here, and the crowd is wild. This is a great spectator course. We have so many people from all over the country who came out to watch today, and they are going wild.
And I just love watching Caitlin Toohey just right there in the middle of the screen. She is looking around. She's checking it out. She's also got to be thinking about her team behind her and what is the strategy for today.
Yeah, it is certainly a spectacular, it's a spectacle as they go through. We look at the temperature. All right, so the gun goes off, it's 26. Says it feels like 17. Honestly, it feels like winning to me as we go through. Course condition firm, like that's a thing, right? Like you can get mutters, but in this place, there are no tee times when we're done here today, right? This course is here strictly for people to run cross country.
It is a tough course, but the footing is good. Now, one of the things that we're thinking about as the athletes are getting out is those first turns. This is a windy course. It's hilly, but there are a lot of turns. And so where are you going to be? Are you going to be on the inside of a turn running the least distance possible, or are you going to get pushed to the outside? I do think that right now that's one of the reasons why these athletes are getting out hard. You want your position. You want to run as close to 6K as possible.
As she ran through there, you saw Parker Valby in all white. And you know what, Mike Holloway, the director of track and field there and multi-time coach of national champions, said, listen, if the Gators are in white, everything's right. So they brought out the white, which means, again, that's one of those like the turquoise with New Mexico. They mean business here.
You know what she did, though, differently? She normally paints her nails all white. She had a little zhuzh to it. She has a little orange and blue on her nails because, you know, this is a big day. She wanted to live it up a little.
Who doesn't need a little extra zhuzh on game day?
On the right side of our screen earlier, we did see the women from Alabama, and we didn't have enough time to talk about them beforehand, but they are a dark horse. They might win this thing through 4 women. And the question is, where's their 5th going to be? But on the right side of the screen, we did see Mercy Challingat, a former champion here out in front. And they have 4 women for sure. They have 3 women who they now just need to step up. They need one to step up.
Yeah, listen, nobody's run on this course faster or better than Mercy Challingat. So when you know that, your team wants to just follow and see what she can do. And she was really excited about her team yesterday.
Well, that 5th runner that they had at the SEC that was so instrumental as they won the SEC championship and broke Arkansas' stranglehold of 9 years was Elka Mackin. And Mackin ran fantastic, finished top 20. She's a transfer from Ball State, but she's the one that will make a difference on how far, if they can get themselves all the way up to the podium. Dan Waters, the head director in track and field there in Tuscaloosa, says so, and Will Palmer, who he gives all the credit to for creating the culture and the recruiting of everybody on that women's team, he thinks as well that that's certainly a podium team and they might be undervalued.
Amaris Tynisma, you saw on the right side of the screen. She was 3rd here for Alabama last time that we had the championships in Stillwater. So they are out hard, they're up front, and I expect them to stay there.
Still plenty crowded at that point. And so you guys are used to running up front, but tell me what that crowd is like in there, man, because it's not usually a contact sport, but there's a lot of knees, spikes, and elbows.
I just love it. You know, we were here as a team when Villanova won with me as a senior, actually, and it is so much fun to try to figure out where your team is, making sure you stay in that tight pack, especially when you are a team that needs to keep that pack close. You know, some of these teams have great individuals and then they have a little bit of a gap and then they have their 3, 4, 5. Well, there's a lot of teams right here that are all good. and multiple teams have multiple people that can win individually.
I can see from the drone shot right now, someone that we expected to be up front is already there, Parker Valby.
Yep.
They went through the first, just a shade over a K in 3:27, so they went like nobody's going to go out at a crazy pace here for sure. If Valby has an advantage is, and you said she doesn't have her team here and she misses them, but she can run free and with total disregard, where some of the other top contenders might have to measure themselves because they can't afford to have a blow up and go way back and still win a team title.
This is what I think she needs to do. I mean, we've seen that she can push a pace, she can sit and kick as well, but she needs to run the legs out of someone like Caitlin Toohey. You know, Caitlin Toohey has been one that can really hammer those last 1K, 2K of any race, but she also is worrying about that team. So I do think this is smart for Parker to get out hard, to kind of put the hurt on early, but also she has to remember that the hurt will happen for her too.
You know what else puts the hurt on these people other than the other runners? Those hills, and everybody running here is aware of those hills.
One athlete that I saw up front early, Elise Stearns out of NAU. She was the Big Sky champion. She was second in the regional meet. She's from a very talented high school athlete out of Hellgate. She's come in, she's made an immediate impact on that NAU women's program. We've seen, you know, we talk about the men's dynasty. The women are on the up and up.
Yep, they are. And that's Mike Smith said that's his big goal, is to get these women up on a podium.
So as you see them there, they survive that first big hill. They get to go downhill again, but listen, at this place, there's always another hill.
Parker Valby starting to make a little.
When I think of hills, I just immediately think just grit my teeth and just go. Like, honestly, no thoughts, just run. That's all you got to do.
We have a lot in Morgantown, so I'd say you're kind of used to seeing them around and just on your regular runs, but I think, you know, it makes this cross-country course interesting. And
yeah, I guess hills for the Vills. I'm excited. Yeah, I like the hills, so I'm ready for it.
Does anybody really like hills? Like, that sounds great, but at 5K or when they go up that final one at 5,600, like, nobody likes hills.
You like it if you're doing it quicker than everyone else.
And you're getting up.
They're all bigger than you, by the way. That's the other thing. There's not a hill that's smaller than you.
You know, I liked, Kyle, what you had to say, and I want you to talk about it because we saw Parker Valby get out here fast, but we also saw on the first shot where she kind of was away from the group. Talk about the tangents that you and I saw on the course.
You know, the advantage of being up front is you get to choose what path you want to run. Right now, Parker Valby, now 10, 15 meters already in front of the rest of the pack. She's going to take the shortest distance every way. You know, I bet if you had two athletes out here, one up front and one in 150th, both wearing GPS watches, they might have like 100 meters difference between the two of them at the end of the race. So it is an advantage to be up front, having a clear line everywhere you go. And right now, Parker Valby has that.
That's very much how Parker Valby has run all season, whether it was here, whether it was the SEC, whether it was running a phenomenal time at the Arturo Barrios Invitational there at Texas A&M, as they've gone through a shade over 2K now. Valby's out there in front. Quick update, team score through 2K, which is hard to tell because they all go through, you know, when you got 8 athletes coming across every second, it's a little tough, but NC State at 102, Alabama's right there, North Carolina, Stanford, Northern Arizona, BYU. Most everybody you'd expect. Oklahoma State's at 13, but again, there's such a crowded field. New Mexico's back there deep. Early, I'm not sure we can draw a ton of conclusions other than, oh, look, NC State's in front, and so's Valby.
Valby moved on that second K. That was a 3:09 second K, you know, just a tick above 5-minute pace. So she is running hard, and the women behind her are going to have to work together if they're going to reel her back in.
And that is exactly what we saw when we ran here in 2021 in March. We like to call it 2020 because it just makes it easier.
Yes.
But, you know, when we saw Connor Mance, he did not go with Kiptu right away. You know, he went with them and then he backed off, and then he really started to move together with Wild Scoot, right? It was a Wild Scoot that they went
Florida
together.
State.
And that's what I think Toohey and Mercy Chellengat, who's next to her, you know, they're going to have to start closing in on this gap because, listen, this is 6K. It's less than 20 minutes of running. They need to make sure that they keep that gap within distance so they can go back and get her for that individual win if that's what they want.
I'd like to know where her coach Chris Zielinski is right now. If he's with his hands in his head, going, "What is she doing?" or if he's out there cheering. It's a little different than her because the Florida schedule she wasn't at Nuttycombe where all these great athletes saw each other. She wasn't at Notre Dame in the Piani. So this is really everybody else's chance except for the Alabama squad to see her in a cross-country setting.
Yeah, she's a different athlete, right? I mean, a lot of people know that she runs 3-4 times a week. She cross-trains a ton. She's very strong, but there is this question mark of how does she handle the hills? We've seen her look good so far, but guess what? They got a whole nother lap of this stuff.
Yeah, well, look at that stalking pack. Those people can play, right? There's Kaylee McCabe. There's Chellengat. Her teammate is in there as well, Hilda Olemomoy. She's in that chase group when she comes through. I think Everlyn Kemboy, who's a great runner from Utah Valley State, is out there running. Bailey Hertenstein from Colorado. So all the other folks that we expect to be up front are kind of up front in that pack. It's just we got a lone wolf out there running. Look right now at the team comparison with North Carolina State and Alabama as we see like that's their big four that you go through with Alabama on the right, and then you had Mackin back there in the hundreds. And how far up can she go? Sam Bush, great experience. She was on the championship team. And then you see on the left, North Carolina State, Sydney Seymour, who's a transfer from over at Tennessee, and she's really kind of been the one. If she runs really well, if she can find herself in the top 30, I think that makes them almost bulletproof.
Right now, Oklahoma State, one of the teams that we thought was going to come in here and maybe mix things up, they're in 8th place right now. They have 290 points, a little higher than we probably would have expected at this point, but they're moving up.
But they have done that. They did that when we were here back in the 20/21. The men did the same thing. They were movers up. And listen, nobody's more conscious about what's coming in the second half of this race than those women.
Well, Coach Smith said, you know what Oklahoma State knows? After you get through 2 minutes of running, they know exactly what happens in the next 2 minutes, and then so on and so forth. They know every little bit of this course. So maybe laying back is the way to go.
We talk so much about the accolades that Tui came in with from high school and how good she was. Natalie Cook comes with a resume out of Flower Mound, Texas that's also really, really impressive. A freshman runner here for the Cowboys. And we kind of, some freshmen excel here. Most get swallowed up, but there are the occasional freshman that comes into this race and runs well.
Well, when you have a Taylor Rowe on your team who's won an individual championship at indoors, she knows how to be the best in the country. You follow what she does. You listen to every word that she has to say, and she is such a great person to have on this team. She's soft-spoken. At times she doesn't seem real confident, but I think that she runs confidently, and they are so excited to be able to have her as their leader, and they obviously have a great one there. But Parker Valby right now, they need to start closing this gap.
Well, 8 seconds is fairly manageable. There's Tui's decided that maybe she's gonna excel because she's taken a few strides out in front of that group behind her.
Initially, I think the plan was that Cook was going to key off Rowe, but we just saw Cook's the one up front. She was there in the top 10 early. Rowe is going to be moving through his field, hopefully catching her, and that's when you come up and you tap her on the shoulder and say, let's go.
Exactly, and I think Cook is such a phenomenal athlete herself. She's been able to follow every move that Rowe has in practice and in life in general as a college student. So maybe in this race, they finally say to Natalie, go for it, just go for it. But, it is just nice. You can see they're here. There is Tui really making the push to get closer to Parker Valby.
And listen, she's got some vibes from this course. She came in and had a little injury, and Lori Hennis has been very careful with her early. She ran her very first college cross-country race. They threw her in here in the Nationals back in 2020, that March of 21 race, and she came through and she ran great, 24th. Yeah. First college meet, go. Here's the championships.
She was up there. She faded a little bit, but listen, when you fade to 24th, that's pretty spectacular.
You see Valby there up front. Now the chase is on. The question is, can Caitlin go get her? Valby is not in the team score. You take her out. Caitlin right now has that 1 point for NC State, and it's time to take a risk. Let's go see if I can get the individual title.
So they come through 4K. Valby at 12:57, and then 12 seconds behind is Tui, and then a few seconds back you have Stearns and Ole Momoy. There's Camille is there, Tynesma, Natalie Cook. So names we know, Emily Venters, who's great from Utah, and good to see her. She's had such a great season. And she came to the national championships last year in Tallahassee and put up a DNF because sometimes it's just not your day. You know, we don't talk enough about that. Like, somebody in here is not going to have their day.
And
even though you aim for it, it's just not going to happen, which is sad.
Teams tend to do that on the same day. You know, they've been training together. They ate the same dinner last night. So when a team is on, it seems like they're all on together. And right now, a team that is doing that in 3rd place, but still continuing to move up, is New Mexico. Their 5th woman is 43rd. And so when you look at the results of the past 10 years, it generally takes about 94 points is the average that teams need in order to win. So we're thinking about that. How do I add up to be in that 90 to 100 range?
Look at the team score right there with Alabama. Surprisingly, Chillingott's all the way back in 17th. She's running right there with Taylor Rowe in 18th as they come through. As they look at that, and there's if right now it looked like boom, there's Tui winning, but Valby's way out in front. How unique is this? Like, this is a strange setting for Tui because she doesn't usually have to chase people down. So this is a little different racing dynamic for her.
Parker's been taking races out, going hard, challenging anyone to come with her. Whereas Caitlin's been in a lot of tactical races. A lot of her races go out slow. People are intimidated to be racing Caitlin Tui, and so they kind of key off of her. It seems like Parker is not intimidated, and now Caitlin has to go work twice as hard to do this all by herself.
Yeah, nobody should be surprised at all at what Valby has done in terms of going to the lead and going out hard. I think maybe people are surprised that she's kind of gapped the field at this, and can she hang on? I don't know, but boy, for 5,000 meters almost, she's the bomb.
These two had a great battle last year in the outdoor season, the 5K. Yep. And in that middle part of the race, around 3K, 4K, when it hurts the most, that's when Valby was making her move. And she admits, I don't have a great kick. This is how she runs her best. Caitlin historically has had the better kick. So this is going exactly as you would have maybe marked it up on paper beforehand, but it does seem like Caitlin's starting to reel her back in as they approach 5K.
I really thought Parker Valby needed to push hard to go for it. And you know Chris Zielinski. I mean, Zielinski is such a legend in the sport, but Tui is making these turns, and she's really using those turns and using the hills. She said hills pays the bills, right? Like, she loves hills, and she's got to get going on them, but you can never underestimate her last K. She needs to get within striking distance, and then if she's in closing distance, I think with that final K, she is the one to beat.
She is 5 seconds back now, but on screen it looks like it's slowly, reeling her in. She's coming, and the Jaws music is playing in the background.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we're into the final K now, and I don't know. You look at that, and Valby, like, I don't know that she's necessarily laboring as much as Tui's actually really stepped up her pace and chased. I would guess that Valby, yes, might be slowing a bit in those, but this is really Tui being relentless at this point.
This race is not necessarily going to be decided in the last 100. About 300, 400 meters out, there's that hill. That is where we've seen it decided in the past, and right now it's happening.
It's happening.
How quickly can you close this gap? We're going to the arms, and it's about getting up the hill and then taking 5 hard steps off of it so that the momentum really picks back up immediately.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what she does here now, John. She's going to get up on Parker's shoulder, it looks like. Will she blow by her? Will she settle back in and get up to that final turn where she has about 200 meters to go? This is really exciting right here.
Quick look at the top 2 teams there, NC State and Alabama, and there's Elka Mackin back in 158th and Sydney Seymour 96. So those are the places right now that are kind of determining the difference. The 5th place runner, Seymour, as we said, the transfer, but both those guys have gone back a little backwards, and now we're really close up here at front because Tui's got her in her sights and she's about to go by.
You have to demoralize her. If you're going to make a pass, you got to go. You got to make it hard. Don't let her think that she has a chance to come back and respond. But Parker now suddenly realizes this is a race. How do I latch on and make this thing a final sprint?
One final little push up the hill, and then it's all downhill coming home.
Yeah, that last 200 meters. And normally I would say, right, you go by them and they're buried, but it happened a couple years ago, right, when Cheserek got past and came back and you were stunned. The name escapes me. It was the runner from Texas Tech, who I thought for sure, who thought, oh, you got him. And Ches came back with some fight, but Tui's clearly here, overpowered her, and I don't know that they're going to go up this last incline here. It's not as much of a hills, it's this gradual incline for about 200 meters. Then it's like a lot of things how you give directions here in Oklahoma. Get to the tree and take a right. and then she's all downhill right to our broadcast position.
This is the most decorated high school cross-country runner of all time. The number of athletes who have done it in high school and then come here to the NCAA championships and won. It's a handful, very few. You know, you count it on one hand.
Yeah.
And here comes Caitlin Toohey. She's just a couple hundred meters away from making it happen.
And I don't think we fault Valby at all. She's run the race she's run all year. So people might go, oh, look, she came out and she didn't get it. Like, that's how she was going to run this race forever, and it's worked so much here, so she's been terrific.
She did great, but you know what? The last person that won from NC State individually was from 1985, Susan Tuppy. What an exciting day for Caitlin Toohey.
So here comes Caitlin Toohey. She's going to come through and be the individual champ for the 2022 cross-country championships. She's got the low stick. Will her team follow? Valby's going to come through just behind in second. A great run for her. And now we've got Camille for MC State. So that's 1-2, as Kyle will count them up for you. That's 1-2 as she comes through.
And here comes Stearns. Great race for 4th place.
She comes through. Omomoy for Alabama. Tynesma as well. So Chelangat in her last race, not quite what she expected, but she's still good. She'll come just behind. Taylor Rowe crosses. More NC State. There's Chelangat that comes through. She got beat by Flomena Asacol as well for her teammates. So Alabama's first 4 come through. Unbelievable.
As we look at the team race, it's just going to be where is Mackin? How many people can she pass in that final straightaway?
Here comes there's 3 from New Mexico across the line at the same time as they're kind of in the lead right now, depending.
New Mexico 140 points. Will that be enough? They have 5 runners in.
They're the first 5 across is New Mexico. Now, where does Alabama, where does NC State put theirs up? Where will those 5th runners come? Can Alabama be better than 101st? NC State's in. Right now, unofficially, 74th for Seymour, which would put them in first place and back-to-back if that score holds. Oklahoma State, as he said, they come through. They've got their 5 in as they move up. Oklahoma State, we said, they're steady. They keep coming through. As you see on your left, the scores come up. Great run from North Carolina.
And Alabama got their 5th in, but right now it does seem like NC State 114 is going to hold up.
First time since Danny Jones at Colorado won individually and the team won. And this is an exciting day for NC State.
It goes quick. Megan Elliott told us yesterday, who will take over for Lance Harder as the women's cross-country coach over there in Arkansas. She goes, sometimes, you know, you get 4 and 5 people cross the line every second, and sometimes 7 and 8. So it gets fluid here at the end, but it looks like NC State's got enough room there. What a fantastic run from Alabama again, even though she's back in 127th. Elka Mackin has run really well.
If we're going to pick a hero right now for NC State, I'm going Nevada Moreno. She finished in 27th place. Nevada was one of the great high school runners coming out of Raleigh. Initially, she didn't have a great start to her college career. Even this season, you know, it didn't get off to an excellent start. She was okay at Nuttycombe, but she just keeps getting better and better. She was 12th at the region meet, and then to come out here, we're adding in 8 other regions to finish 27th. She is the main reason today in terms of what NC State did differently, that they were able to pull it out.
Right, and I misread that. I thought that was Sydney Seymour that came in there, but that is Robber, who was there in 5th place. It came through, and Moreno, steps up. And listen, that's what you need. Ellie Lori has told us, listen, we got the 1-2, but I don't care how the rest come. Jumble them up. Have your best day. It's okay. We don't need to assign a place.
The last team that had the individual winner and the team winner was 2018. It was Danny Jones in Colorado. It just has a tendency when your team's running well, you're running well, it all gets done. It's magic.
This camaraderie is amazing. It was so funny. Kelsey Camille already tried to come over and grab the trophy. We had wait. But how exciting. You know, defending champions is a tough title to have. You have a lot of pressure. You have that target on your back, and they ran so composed. They did it together, going 1 and 3 up top. Wow.
And the beauty is here, although these are unofficial at this moment, and we'll get those confirmed by the time we get back from the break. This isn't like back in the day when Kerry ran and you had to go on you were out on your rundown, your cool down afterwards, where they got to come find you. And there's the crucial point right there where Toohey went by Valby on her way to the championship. We'll come back. We'll give away a trophy after this and talk to your individual winners. Stay with us. Back here, Stillwater, Oklahoma. Tell you about some college basketball coming tomorrow. The men's basketball game of the day is the first ever meeting between number 4 Kentucky, shout out Torrey Herman, finished 56th here, and number 2 Gonzaga, last season's National Player of the Year. We hope to see him on the floor. Oscar Schwebe leads the Wildcats against one of my favorites, Drew Timme in the Bulldogs in Spokane. Coverage begins 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on ESPN. Here is a recap quickly of the women's race. So we started with 255 tied, and by the time we got done, we had one winner.
Well, you know what? It was an amazingly executed race by Caitlin Toohey on the women's side. Parker Valby went for it. This is what she needed to do. She needed to get out. She's running by herself, missing her team. But right here, you see Caitlin Toohey just kind of, slowly reeling her in, timing her final kick on that final hill, and then turning and really pushing it in, leading her team. Awesome day by Caitlin Toohey.
So she comes through, remains undefeated on the year. It's the first time Valby has gone down. As we look at the women's top 10, Toohey, Valby, Camille, Stearns with a great run. Bailey Hertenstein, the transfer from Indiana. Ole Momoy in 6th. Natalie Cook, as a freshman, finishes 7th. Notre Dame with the 8th spot. Kainesma, she's magic here, 3rd and now a 9th as she comes through. And then the Ohio State makes it a top 10. And as we come back live, there's our winner, Caitlin Toohey. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Man, hills pay the bills. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Valby got out there. Tell me your thoughts as she was out there and how you decided to measure and when you decided you needed to go get her.
We talked about beforehand if she went out fast from the gun to stay back and kind of work with the pack to catch her. And then once we went through about 3K, I was like, that gap's a little bigger than I like. So I kind of made the surge to catch her and then just slowly kind of timed myself from there. And then the goal is to catch her before the turn up the hill. And that's right around where I caught her, and then just try to make my move on the hill and just power on the downhill finish.
What's it like to cross the finish line, turn around, and immediately see your teammates all coming in?
Yeah, that was crazy. Kelsey was 3rd, so that was really hype. I mean, I was really tired, but I kind of got a second win to see them come in, and we were trying to count, and we couldn't find like our 5th girl, so we didn't know like where we were at. But yeah, I just found out we won, so that was so exciting.
Was I seeing New York grit at some point, so I know it when I see it?
Yeah, if you saw my pain face, that was the New York grit.
I think Carrie Tollefson's down there. Do you have something for these ladies, Carrie? So we'll let them celebrate with that, see if we can get Coach Hennessy place as we'll take a look at the top 10 teams that have come through there. The 2nd straight year, NC State, back-to-back champs, so they get another trophy. Light the town red, or whatever they say out there in Raleigh. New Mexico runs a great race for Coach Joe Franklin. Will Palmer's Alabama squad runs fantastic for them. What a season they've had. Oklahoma State, North Carolina, that's the best finish in program history, just as it was for Bama. Northern Arizona, they just keep getting higher and higher and closer to the top. Great run for Notre Dame there. Diljeet Taylor, another top 10. She's never been out of the top 10 since she took over that program in her 7th year. Shout out to the Who's in Virginia for how well they ran as well. And rounding out the top 10, the Georgetown Hoyas. So we've got them. I don't know if we have the coach. There's Coach. Sam Seam's going to pull Coach in there. She's just directing traffic. Listen, the coaching doesn't end when everybody's across the line. There's a lot of stuff to take care of. So, Coach, you did a great job of defending a title that you weren't defending today. It's tough to get them all have one of their best days, and you had gals all run really well today.
We did. We had a lot of people step up today. They were great up front, but we really, kept the. I haven't really got a chance to look at results, but I know Brooke Rauber came through big again today, and they just really, really have been working on running together, and they tried to do that as best possible today, and it just worked out well.
How do you do that up front when you have an athlete that can go for the individual win, but you have to be careful because of the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about yesterday, I don't think those two things are at odds, because the lowest stick you can get up front, the better you are in the team race, and that was very true for us today with Caitlin and Kelsey. I mean, I think they were 1-2 in the team score there, so I mean that gives you a huge advantage behind that when you can do that up front. So I think the team and individual goals are the same for us, really.
Coach, you had 5 women score today, but this is a whole program. Can you speak to the importance of everyone else who came, drove, and watched them, cheered them on, trained with them all year, the entire program?
I mean, part of our culture is everybody has a role. Sometimes your role is to score 1 or 2 points at NCAAs, and sometimes your role is to push people in workouts, or pick someone up when they're down, or celebrate their victories. So we really do believe everyone has a role. We weren't able to get as many people here as Tallahassee, with it being a little farther. So shout out to all of our women at home cheering too. I know they are, and we even say this isn't even a team; it's a program. It's not even the 7 people that are here right now. It's everything that's come before them and everything that'll come after as well.
Lori Hennis, champions, back-to-back. Don't check that, okay? Take the trophy and go ahead and put it in the overhead bin when you come through. Strength of the pack's the wolf. Strength of the wolf is the pack. Back with the runner-up after this. We are back here in chilly Stilly. NCAA Cross Country Championships for 2022. We are about 14 minutes from the men's race. Still trying to digest all that happened in the women's race. It was a great day for NC State, the team championship, and we had Caitlin Toohey win the individual title. But for the first 5,000 yards of meters or more, the race was made by this woman, Parker Valby, the runner-up. Congratulations. Listen, you ran like we've seen you run all year. Your thought from the get-go, from the line till you ended up here in front of us?
Yeah, I just wanted to go for it. I know I don't have as good of a kick as Caitlin, so I knew that I had to shoot my shot, and I tried. And yeah.
It's way better than 27th, right? Because that's what we were looking for, an improvement.
I was just trying to get better than 27th last year. Yes, you are correct.
We know that you have a different way of training. You train hard on your run days, but you also cross-train. Talk about the hills. A lot of people were wondering how you're going to handle hills. You clearly handled them very well today.
Yeah, I mean, I train on the arc trainer, and you can put the resistance up, you can put the incline up, and you can mock hills. I train on hills in Florida. We have a golf course that's similar to this. Yeah, it's definitely different than any course I've run this entire year, but I had fun. I enjoyed it.
Parker, you're so much fun to watch.
Thank you.
What is it about running that just gets you going? Because I think there's a lot of little girls that look up to you and are like, I want to be just like Parker Valby. I want to go for it at the big dance and put it all out there.
Yeah, I just enjoy it. I love it. Yeah.
Now, you're from Florida, or you're in Florida, but you keep saying you're from Connecticut. Is it cold? Was it cold out there? We're bundled up right now.
Oh, I ran with hand warmers in my gloves. I actually ran with no socks on, so the entire time I did not feel my feet at all. Kind of nice, kind of just running on numb feet. Yeah, it was definitely the coldest race I've ever run in my life. But yeah.
Parker Valby, congratulations. It's a great showing. We'll let you go get warmed up, and indoor track starts tomorrow. So take the rest of the day off, and we'll see you then.
Congratulations.
Fantastic performance by Parker Valby as well. We're getting ready to preview the men's race when we return here on ESPNU. We are back, and you see the clock in the upper left-hand corner. What are we, 8 minutes and 20 seconds from the start of the men's race here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And I'll be honest, cross-country races to me on Saturday morning are like donuts. That one was so good, I think I'll have another. So we look at the men's race now, and any talk about a men's championship race starts with the guys who are coming down from the mountain. And listen, Flagstaff and first place seem to go together.
This is a dynasty. 5 out of 6 years now, Coach Mike Smith's men have gotten it done. But if they're going to do it again this year, they need a hero. And fortunately, 2 of the heroes from past years are back. You do have Brody Hasty and George Cush. These 2 guys who have done it before, they've stepped up, and they need to do it. Cush, this is his 5th NCAA cross-country championship. That's not something we were saying a couple of years ago. And I think of Peter Lamong in 2017, his ability to step up, finish 8th out of nowhere. They need someone like that today, because they do have the firepower up front in Nico Young and Drew Bosley, but they need that 4-5.
Everybody loves a COVID super senior, and you see Nico Young pointed out there in 2020. He was a freshman on that squad that won, and he tells us right now what it means to be the champ, not just once, but like 5 times.
Yeah, we've won 5 national titles, but that doesn't change the fact that, each year is different. I think it's more like we have to kind of go, earn a new one for ourselves. Every year is different. We have a new team every year, so I feel like it's always like a new thing that we have to do. So.
So if NAU wins, certainly that's not going to be a surprise, but they are not favored in this when they come through. I'm looking, there's that Nico. Yeah, it's, yeah, hard to miss him, right? Big, tall guy. Gets kind of a mean grimace face when he runs and really gives the effort, which you like to see. I don't want it to look easy. I want people to know that I'm giving full effort. If there's a team, though, that is favored here, it's going to be Stanford, who is in this event for the 29th straight year. In the previous 28, they've been in the top 10 26 times. But is this the year they come out on top?
It's been 19 years since they've been on top, and they want it. And, you know, Coach Santos says, I want this, my team wants it. They're not talking so much about the win, but they're talking about the spread. They're talking about those top 3 that they have, and they want this big win.
Yeah, Charlie Hicks, Cole Sprout, Kai Robinson, like those guys will be up front. They haven't had a bad race in a while. All comes down to 4 and 5. Before we get into that, brag about these 3 cats.
You know, I really like Charles Hicks. I think that he leads this team. He's really excited. He has so much fun in life. But you have a guy like Cole Sprout. I mean, look at what he's already done. He's placed 15th already here. He knows how to run fast. But Kai Robinson, so good on the track and on the grass.
Kyle, if they win here, it's because of what?
I think this top 3, they all need to be in the top 10. They absolutely have to do that. I think they have the 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 are going to deliver, but these 3, they need to be in the top 10.
So those guys could all challenge for first place, certainly, and then these guys are contenders to come across the line as well. Let's go back to Nico Young.
Yeah, as a freshman on this course, he was 4th. I mean, a lot of pressure on this guy coming out. Probably one of the best high school runners we've ever seen as well. He's got his 2 younger brothers that followed suit. But yeah, Nico Young is one of the guys I think that we have to watch. He's very calm, very collected, but he wants to do it for his team.
Alex Mayer there is Casey Klingler. Listen, there are a bunch of guys, and as this unfolds, we'll talk about Mayer, we'll talk about Klinger, we'll talk about Kiprop at Alabama, all kinds of them. What we are now is about 6 minutes away. Stay with us on ESPNU. More running coming. Got a beehive activity there at the start line as we get ready to bring you the men's race here at the NCAA Cross Country Championships. Reminder of college football. Harvard-Yale follows this broadcast, by the way, but then on Statement Saturday, Illinois and Michigan at the Big House at noon. Ohio State and Maryland are going to get it on at 3:30 over on ABC as well. Miami and Clemson, good ACC clash as well. And then we're going to go to the SEC for a nightcap between Tennessee and South Carolina. So, Kyle, we're going to add 4,000 meters to this baby, and the course routing's just a tad different.
They're essentially running 2 5K loops here. You know, they've been running 8K more or less all season, and all of a sudden at the end, we make them run 2 10Ks in 8 days. This is a tough course, but it can be run fast if you attack at the right places. So we're looking at those hills in red, and we want to avoid those as best as possible. But that opening, I think from 5K to 6K, that downhill, when you come through the start line again, things can really open up there. That is a fast stretch, and then you got to climb all the way up and then down to the finish.
10,000 meters. We are about 40 seconds away. We'll do this quick. Let's just talk about Oklahoma State, because listen, everybody knows the routing, but only Oklahoma State can run this thing with their eyes closed.
Yeah, Oklahoma State obviously knows this course like the back of their hand. They are excited to be here. Isai Rodriguez, he wants to come back on his final time here and show what he's got. But, you know, he's got a great team around him. Dave Smith's so excited for this race.
There are 31 teams here, but really this is going to be probably about 4, right, Kyle? Stanford, BYU, NAU, OSU.
Yeah, I would be surprised if anyone besides those 4 were able to break in, but they will certainly try.
If there is a 5th team that's going to do it, it could be Tulsa from just over 70 miles away here to the east. There you see BYU, Casey Klingler. They lost Connor Mantz, but they're still a really, really good program at Eystone every year. Brings a contender here. There's Air Force. That group is really strong. They've come out of the West region. They've run terrific this year. And there's the favorite right there. You got Stanford, and is our man Charlie bobbing and weaving, and he's ready to go. He's going to have a really great YouTube video after this, don't you think? There's some Ivies for you right there. Quick, give me a blurb about Harvard.
Harvard's doing great. Alex Gibby has come in and made a huge impact on the program. And they've got 2 guys who are definitely top 10 threats in Graham Blanks and Acer Iverson.
And there's Princeton, too. All right, all the smart kids are up there, plus Nerd Nation and then NAU, who, listen, if they win, it's the least shocking upset ever, even though they might not be favored there. I don't know if Mayer's cold or if he's just like, could we get started already? All right, we'll shut up and let the gun go off. Here we are, 2022 Cross Country National Championship.
And this
They watched the women do it. Now it is the men's turn.
I guess this is the NCAA meet, judging by the big blue dot we've got there, right?
Again, I miss this so much. This is such a fun feeling. You know, they've worked so hard all summer, all fall. You know, they've had their ups and downs, every single one of them. But when that gun goes off and you get to storm down, you know, you don't get to do this very often at the state meet and at the NCAA cross country meet. And sometimes when you're older as a pro, you get to do it at the World Championships. But really, this is just a really phenomenal moment in an athlete's career that's really fun. You know, you're just you're establishing your race, you're finding your position, and I just miss it so much. I loved it.
A dual meet, it is not.
No. No.
Well, you see the front athletes, they get out hard. They still have another 6 miles to run, but they're looking around and they're trying to see where's my team, where are the main contenders, what jerseys are the teams we're trying to beat in. And you just now, as the fans are behind you, you start to settle a little bit and you say, we're here.
And you know what I love about all of this? We have 800-meter specialists. We have 1,500-meter runners. We have 10K. We have guys that are going to be marathoners. Like, this is just that great melting pot, as we say every year, of runners. And now they are having to step up to the 10K distance for a lot of these athletes. It's a long ways to go.
Well, and you look at that, and yes, it takes some energy to get out to the front, but it's also, if you get in that pack too far back, it's energy to get through all those people as well to get yourself back up to that front of the pack.
And I don't think Nico Young, Kai Robinson, Charles Hicks, Drew Bosley, all the men that we were expecting to be up there, they're there immediately.
You know, the one thing I love about the men's course, and we talked about this yesterday when we were running it, you know, they get this first 2K loop that is, you know, it's a little bit of rolling, but it's nice and smooth. You have a little bit more time to get in to your groove, and I really like that about this course. I mean, the women, you know, have it tough in that 6K too, but they have a little bit of a downhill first K. These guys get to kind of go in and do that little loop, and it's nice.
Something I was expecting, which I do think is happening, was that the men's race was going to be a little bit more tactical, because a lot of the athletes here that are vying for the individual title are also in it for the team title, and we just saw Caitlin Toohey do that, run a little bit more conservative in the first half of the race. And I guess Nico Young just heard me say that and said, I'll show you otherwise.
Can I just clarify that we ran the course yesterday? When you say that, you mean you and Kyle ran the course.
Hey, we can loop you in. You don't have to even tell anyone that.
Right, it's very gracious of you to say that, but no. So Nico Young goes through the first K in 2:39. They went through, last time out here, it was Wesley Kiptoo, like 2:30. And that was just a smoke show to go through. And Dave Smith had said, I'm looking more at 39, 40, maybe even 43. But Young's out there, and Charlie's right behind old Floppy here with the headman.
I do see Fergal Curtin there from FSU, the cork man. Now, my question, Carrie, we make a big deal of where people are from.
Yes.
You know, you grew up running real cross country. It's cold, it's wet, it's windy. Does that make a difference that, you know, an athlete like Fergal who grew up in Ireland's out here versus someone who maybe grew up in Kenya?
I think he's not afraid of it, but, you know, we just saw Parker Valby, who is a Florida gal. And, I mean, yes, you guys are claiming her from Connecticut, but her major time of running and training has been in Florida, and she just conquered it. She said, you know, she's a little bit chilly. She didn't have socks on. I mean, Chris Solinsky's her coach. She's from Wisconsin, for crying out loud. Have the girl wear some socks. But, you know, I think everyone is out here, and they're so tough. And, you know, for us, at least, I think the Midwesterners, they want the cold, the snow, whatever else, just to get in people's heads.
So Nico's out in front. Some of the other guys we're going to probably watch and be up in the pack. You got Alex Mayer, who's going to come from Oklahoma State, run well. Kai Robinson, we mentioned, the Australian from Stanford. Casey Klingler, who, if it's possible, criminally underrated because he ran behind Connor Mant so many times. There's Charlie. Victor Kiprop, not to be lost with Alabama, really good. Aaron Beinenfield, who's at Oregon, is going to be in that pack. Dylan Jacobs, the Notre Dame transfer, now running for Tennessee. Acer Iverson, as we touched on, Harvard's going to be in there. Two-time big champ Bob Leichling from Wisconsin is going to be in there. So there are a lot of good names that will be up here that will make this a race, not just tactical, but it'll be plenty quick by the time we get done.
In the early part of this race, we're seeing athletes like Casey Klinger and Victor Kiprop, Alex Mayer, maybe a little bit deeper in more the 30 range. But you know, that's a second or two. They're right there. They're just not the ones up there front pushing. We did think that there was potential of Victor Kiprop coming in as one of the lone individuals who is, you know, not necessarily thinking about the team title in the same way as some of these other guys to be one to push. John, you've seen him run. Is this guy have a chance today? Because I feel like he's underrated. We're not talking about him.
Listen, I don't. Do you discount anybody here? No, seriously, I know that's the standard answer, but it's like, no, I think everybody here has bona fides and has to have a reason to be here. So I don't think, I discount anybody, certainly not early in the race here as we're almost to the 2K mark. And by the way, as you watch this, and there's Nico Young, are Leo and Lex's brothers, are they rooting for him or are they rooting for Stanford?
Oh,
where are they
that is
going?
a tough question.
Right?
You can root for both, John.
You
Come
think?
on.
I think you go blood on this one.
I think so too, probably. We don't have to put on the tree until next fall when they come out of there.
So Charles Hicks is happy to sit on the NAU duo. Charles, he grew up in London. He came over when he was 12 years old. He still competes for Great Britain. He was actually the U23 Eurocross champion. He's headed back in a month to represent again. This is a guy who's just consistent. He's always up towards the front. If he's not winning the race, then he's right there. And I think he's not afraid of this early fast pace that Nico is setting. Clearly this was in the game plan, and it's nice to have a teammate next to you to help make it honest.
Quick look at the team comparison here through just a shade over 2K, and it's Stanford and NAU. Like, I don't know that anybody's really racing right now. It's not quite the marathon where we're going to run for 20 and then race for 6, but I don't know that anybody's really at this point decided how this thing's going to go. That group right there has got a lot to say about this thing. And they're out. And in this case, right, that first 2K kind of loop they go through there is kind of nice because, Kyle, it gives me a chance to settle in before I have to start attacking those hills.
Yeah, I mean, we heard from the athletes, they got a chance to see the course and experience the hills from themselves. We saw from the women that it is a big decider in the race, how you get up them, and, from the men as well.
Yeah, well, let's hear what the men have to say about the hills.
I think hills are great, personally. I love them. I think it's always fun to run them. It gets a little bit of burn in the legs. And
we're out in Utah. We get to run in the Rocky Mountains on the weekends, and we're familiar with hills, so the more hills, the better.
It's not really about hills or flat. It's just about being mentally tough in the race and competing for each other, and I think we're all prepared for that, and it's going to be an exciting day.
So the hills, certainly they offer a challenge, but they also offer an opportunity, right? Because there's a place to maybe lose a guy or measure who you're next with and see what he might have.
And it's not even necessarily about the hill itself. It's when you come off the hills or you come off the downhills, your legs are now a little more beat up. So we're not going to see someone walk up the hill, but what we're going to see is that rather than running 4:40 pace, all of a sudden they're running 5-minute pace, and that's not going to be enough.
And even going up some of these hills, you cannot see the crest for a long time. I mean, you can lose people once you get over it because there is this kind of blind spot when you're climbing it. But one thing I got to remind people of, Charles Hicks is one tough cookie. Remember that bloody nose that he ran through during the 10,000 meters outdoors? I mean, he's just a fun guy. He's so well spoken, but he's tough as nails. And he said yesterday he's going for this team title. But obviously, the lower the stick he can get, the better, and he wants this individual win as well, and he's running that way right now.
So we had 3 here that have decided to kind of break away and go to the front with Young, Bosley, and Hicks. But even the pack behind is much thinner than we saw this early in the race on the women's side.
Reminiscent of what happened here when Connor Mance won in 2021 of March, whatever you want to say. But they went out hard up front and then the pack closed in. Again, like the women's race today, we saw Caitlin Toohey let things happen for the first 2-3K and then slowly start reeling them in. Is that what's happening here? I'm not sure. The other question is, does Northern Arizona have that 5th guy, 6th guy that can help push that team title? And maybe this is where Drew Bosley and Nico Young are definitely running more on their own and hoping things follow suit behind them.
Stanford is just slowly moving up. As we got the splits, we see them go from 48 to 42 to 28th for their 5th man. He is going to be the key there, Boyden, and he's right now in perfect position. They have 76 points. In the last 10 years, the average has been 91 points. And when you think about it, John, if you go 1st, 10th, 20th, 30th, 40th, 5 All-Americans, it sounds quite good. That's only 101 points. That's not, we need less than that.
Yeah, the century mark puts you right on the edge, right? Some years it wins, and then some years 100's third because you get a team that comes through and won 24. Look at when Stanford won here 19 years ago in 2003. It was the largest margin ever. They put up a 174. And Wisconsin rolled home at 174. Wow. You know? So I don't know that we have anybody ready for that. Look at our boy Freeze driving the lead cam right there. Sean McCabe's out there from Oklahoma State University doing it. Up front, we know Nico. Listen, our guy Bosley has come through here, was 13th a year ago, 62nd the year before that, and then he was 22nd. So you can get some fluctuations. It just shows like you can be really good and you can be really fit, and where you go and finish can sometimes seem very random when you just look at the results.
We definitely see guys who have, you know, a mediocre season show up today. It's the big dance, you know. They all of a sudden they have the adrenaline. They know that everyone's counting on them, and they have these heroic performances. Looking back at the season, we saw BYU there in third. Earlier in the season at the Nuttycombe Invitational, we saw them, you know, run great. They finished second to Stanford, but they were without their top 2 athletes. And now we insert them into the picture today, and how do they match up? We'll find out here over the next 6K.
They went through the 3K mark in A18. That's pretty sporty, don't you think, as they come through here? I tell you what, this is about the time in the race when a lot of times you introduce the commercial break, and we'll be right back. Yeah, we don't have those in this race. We're staying right here. We're just going to keep going and watching Nico, and we're going to watch Drew, and we're going to watch Charlie. But we're boys now. He lets me call him Chuck.
You know, Drew Bosley right here. You can see he's pushing the pace. Nico's right there with him. Charles Hicks on their shoulder, but interesting to see Bosley really push right here.
Good spectators have managed to make it to all these different points. There's a lot of good viewing points, as Kyle pointed out. But some of that you got to be willing to risk a little, you know, effort on your own part. Like you can stand at the start line and kind of mosey on down here to finish. But the real fans are out there crisscrossing this place.
One athlete that I'm going to be looking for closely here as we get these 4K splits is Colin Selman from NAU. At the start of the year, we were told he was going to redshirt it. Now, this is one of the best high school track athletes of all time. He's run 148, 339, 356, and 10K is a little bit longer than that, but he was very successful in high school at the 5K distance. Coach Mike Smith said, we need him. And right now, at 3K, he was in, I believe, in the 90s, and 4K right now, that's the one name, because if NAU is going to win, they're going to need someone to really step up in that 5th position, and being outside the top 100, unfortunately, probably means you wouldn't win the race.
As they came around that turn, you saw some of the Air Force jerseys. We talked about a great season this service academy had. But you want to talk about running together. They're 71st, 72nd, 74th, 76th, and 77th.
I love it.
Right? Find your guys.
Yeah, find
Stay
your
with
guys.
me. Never leave your wingman. You're the Air Force, right? Never leave your wingman. We're right here, and we're staying. And like I said, they've had such a great season as they come through here. Luke Combs, Mason, Ethan Marshall's in there. He's a Kansas City youngster that's here running. And really good shape as we come up to 5K. Like, I feel like the race just started, and we're going to turn 5K here in just a few minutes. You forget how quick this goes.
I don't think that they feel that way.
No, they don't.
It is tough, especially when you're climbing that hill and you know you got to do it all over again.
I'm just pointing out the juxtaposition is then we're going to go to Stillwater or go to Austin this year for the NCAA Outdoor Championship. It takes 4 days.
So BYU, just a couple seconds spread there in 3rd place. Their 5th is before anyone else is 31st in the team score right now. That is how BYU is going to win this race, is that 5th man just needs to keep moving up in the field, and luckily he has helped because more or less they're right next to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th guy.
Well, Ed Eystone said if he could count 7 people, he would win this race. He knows that he has the guys, and they all come from right there. Yeah. It is so cool. They all come within 30 miles of BYU's campus. They're all Utah guys. And they really are the ones to watch. You know, they rank 2nd coming into this race. I think these could be the ones to beat.
Yeah, and so many of these programs are international. They go worldwide to find different runners in here. And yeah, everybody's just close to home. As we take another look as they come out. So they run that loop again, but they're running it backwards this time.
As they approach 5K, I really think this is the opportunity now that chase pack, if they're going to reel this front 3 in, they've got to use this downhill. It's a long stretch. You're wide open. They've got a lot of guys, to work together. And who's going to be the one to, say to the peloton, let's get moving.
And in that 2K loop that we talked about, that initial 2K loop and the loop that they're going to enter now, this is really that moment where you can sort of figure out where you can go, but also mentally get back in this race, calm down, and realize you just have to enter those hills the final time before you make your run for home.
So we go through at 5K, and NAU is in first place. It's the 4 we talked about: NAU, Stanford, BYU, and Oklahoma State. Let's go down one, though, and let's give some love to the folks at Wake Forest. What a great season the Demon Deacons have had coming through. Weren't super great at the regional. Not always a good judge, right, because you kind of sometimes trade through that. But they're the ACC champs.
My former coach when I was at Texas, John Hayes, is now there at Wake Forest. And I know their training. These guys are strong. They were built for a 10K. And so to see them up here early in the first half of the race, I don't expect them to be going anywhere too far behind from that.
Now they come back behind the starting line as they come through and get ready for lap 2. This is a much easier 10K to keep track of, right? How many laps are there? 2. Right? I don't need the 25 lap counter. I just need 2. Hard to miscount 2.
Brody Hasty there, NAU's 5th man in 44th. We said at the start of the race, he was going to be the key here. In 2020, he was 44th. In 2019, he was 46th. So he is a guy who we know can be right around that 40th spot. And if he's the 5th man there, NAU might be able to pull it off.
There you take a look at the 5th runners for those top teams you talked about.
Yeah, Stanford with Mika Biron Rousseau, Creed Thompson, I believe he and his brother in here. Victor Shitsama, Victor is, he's a guy who I'm surprised right now is 5th for OSU because he can definitely be mixing it up. He's someone that I think is going to move up late in the race. He is very, very talented and has done this before. He's been OSU's top guy. He was 7th at the regional meet, but he's coming into his own.
Yeah, and Mika, for Stanford, their 5th runner right now, he is the guy that everyone relies on. He goes away for 2 months in the summer. He trains in the mountains by himself. He fishes. He makes his own food. He does all these things, and just to get into his own headspace, and then he comes back and he knows his job. He knows his role. It's to perform the best he possibly can, whether that's up in front or in the back, but he's got his job, and right now he's sticking to it.
They come through the 6K at just under 17 minutes. The women finished their 6K race. Tui ran 19:27. I just point that out because 19 women ran under the course record in that first race here. So it is tough, but as it turns out, the weather really conducive to running in this thing, actually.
Yeah, it's great. And right now, they might have some wind as they are tucking in behind each other. I really like the way that Charles Hicks looks right now. He looks locked in. He looks comfortable. It's almost like he's just saying, when are we going to go? When do I make my move here?
Tell me how much easier it is, even though they're breaking away, that those 3 are running together as opposed to Valby, who is out there solo.
Yeah, you get that feeling that you're actually in a race. It's not just a workout. It's not a tempo. Not that you don't generally have thousands of fans screaming their heads off for you in practice.
No.
But it's applied pressure at all points in the race, and you're not going to jog up a hill because no one's on top of you. If you take the gas off for 1 second, then you're no longer there.
These guys though they're used to bodies around them, whether that's in practice or in meets. And like this, these guys, all 3 of them can win individually today, but yet they go home and they go to practice and they have guys on their team that can win individually. So I think that they're all used to having that, but when someone is not used to having someone on their shoulder, it is a huge mental barrier to get over.
BYU has now taken that 2nd position. They're only 3 places behind Northern Arizona.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot to be sorted out here, and we talk about the increase of distance, right? You run 8K, you run 8K, you run 8K. Now we have these 10K races and 8 days apart. Those 2Ks are the one that separate everybody, and so I think it's foolish to not think that this thing will not be decided then in those last 2K. And these good teams, all of them, Kyle, right, they train for this distance. Even though they're running 8K, if you're a really good team and you aim for this meet, that's how that governs your training.
They're not running 8K worth of workout.
Right.
Like, they're doing 10K plus. As we look right now, it's, who are the guys that you're out there in practice with? Well, right now, BYU, the thing that they're doing so well is their 5th runner is in 25th place. Well, guess who's in 6th place? The second Thompson twin. They're together, the 2 brothers, Creed and David Thompson. Look, they are relatively unproven here at the NCAA championships, but they've had fantastic years, and they're next to each other and everything. At Nuttycombe, they were next to each other. At conference, they were next to each other. Neither ran the regional meet, and now you're here today. Your 5th and 6th guys moving up in the pack together. It's huge.
Listen, that's a nice little safety valve there to have that guy in 6th, even though obviously we're not using that in the tiebreaker anymore, but that's a subject for a different day. But you look at NAU's 6th man, he's in 104th place when they went through the last time, and Oklahoma State's guy is in 90th. So at least now they're in a spot where you can almost lose one of the guys if you have to, because they're in a spot where they've got some insulation.
The race is going to be decided between the Thompson brothers and then Santiago Prosser and George Cush of NAU. They're all on top of each other, and actually right in front of them is more BYU guys. So if NAU can just finish up this race with a really strong final 2-3K, they can pass all the bodies that they need to really pull out this thing and extend that dynasty 1 year longer.
So you look at that pack right there is Isai Rodriguez, he's in orange, and then Dylan Jacobs in there, he's in orange, and there's a difference, right? OSU is America's brightest orange, and then I think Tennessee's might be the most recognizable orange because they all look like creamsicles as they go through there. But they've really changed that program under Sean Carlson in just one year. He's hit the transfer portal. He's had a couple of really good guys that stayed over from the squad that Beth Alford Sullivan put together, and he came not quite what he wanted to in the SEC, but put together a really nice race at regionals with the team he thought he was going to have. There you go, look at that. See, you use that downhill, right? Open up those arms and just let gravity take you through.
It looks like Bosley came off that hill and said, you know, maybe this is time to make a move. Carrie, when we were running the course yesterday, we said that these hills are so steep that you're almost running out of control down them. And if your momentum is saying, hey, it's time to go, maybe that's where you make your move.
Yeah, and you can tell that the NAU guys had put so much trust in what their coach has to say. They've gone through this course, they know it, they've been visualizing it. And, you know, for them to be able to have that strength that they get from running at that high altitude and also going up and down the mountains, that is really important. The downhills are so hard here. People talk about the uphills, but keeping your control, keeping your composure on the downhill is crucial. Now they're starting to attack again. Look at how they attack. They go up on those toes, they drive those knees, driving those arms. It is really hard to get up, but once you are, it's like check box. Here we go, 2 to go.
In that second pack there was a kind of a burgundy blur, a crimson blur, and I thought, oh, well, we're finally getting a glimpse of Victor Kiprop. It wasn't. That was a hog on the front of that. That's Patrick Kiprop coming over from Fayetteville and representing for Arkansas, who's been on the podium the last 2 years. Maybe not quite great this year cross country. They're gearing up because indoor and outdoor, that squad is loaded in Fayetteville. Coming up, now it's 8K, so this is the race now. Here who would like to come through and show me where that training is going to take him over these final 2K?
Now we see Hicks go to the lead. He's starting to push. This is smart. You know, we have a lot of times where you want to wait till that final K, but this right here is where you can make a move, establish yourself, and if you have enough to hold on that final push before you make the final turn, that is really where you win it. But, you know, everyone is answering the call right now. The guys get right back up on his shoulder.
The other part here, Carl, like none of these guys are strangers, right? They've run around each other, whether it's in cross country or on the track at the 10K, right? This is basically the same final we saw in Eugene, the 10K. A lot of these people here, like they know what they're up against. There aren't a real lot of secrets here.
Yeah, and they know that Nico Young has run 13:11 for 5K. They know that he's actually quite a great miler. We saw that last year during the indoor season. And Charles Hicks admits, I don't have a great kick. And that's why with 2K left, he's the one up front making the decision to push it because you got to get away from Nico. He can close.
He is the only guy that ever, like I've always thought, if you go to a PGA Tour event, there's not a PGA Tour pro that will say he can putt. But if you come to here, everybody thinks they have the best kick. Every distance runner's convinced, oh, if I leave it to the last 400, I'm good. I'll take care of this. It doesn't happen that way.
Well,
you don't all have the best kick.
Charles Hicks, 4th here last year. You know he wants to have a kick. He wants to be able to outrun everybody. That is something that he has been thinking about day after day, only 3 spots away from breaking the tape. And now it's interesting to see that the two NAU guys starting to push again. Charles Hicks just following suit and just getting right behind them.
He's doing his job, but behind him, Nerd Nation has fallen off a little bit. 46, 50, and 55, 3, 4, 5 when they come through. We're down to the last 1,500. Anybody going to run, what is it, 335? What was your mark?
334, but I don't think that's happening today. Look, we've got 3 of the teams in it right now that we thought were going to be here, and it's in the final 2K. They're all next to each other. This is the front 40 guys in this race are more or less NAU, BYU, and Oklahoma State. If you can close here, you can make up that 15-second differential in no time. And the one guy that I continue to watch is Victor Shitsam from Oklahoma State. He's in 37th, and he's coming. He's coming up.
Yep, and he's had finishes here, 29th and 26th. So he's run up to the top of the pack before. He's been in a crucial scoring position for them, but that number keeps, they keep dialing down the number, 85, 90, and now 100 from those top three. And listen, Stanford has a ton of work to do here in this last K, where the drought's going to continue and be at 20 years. It's going to be another podium, but this is one of those squads that didn't come here to podium.
Charles said yesterday nothing would help his team more in the race than getting 1 point. And this is a little different than a lot of individual races that we've seen in the past. These teams are very much in it from the first stick to the fifth. And we haven't seen a team pull off both the team and individual winner since Galen Rupp and Oregon did it in 2008.
Now we have to look to see, right, when was the last time that both winners had the champion and the individual winner? My man Tyler's going to be all over that now that we've laid it down. So they go through 9K. Charlie Hicks in front. Now Nico Young, Bosley, Hicks, Isaid Rodriguez, sixth-year guy. Listen, if he doesn't have the COVID year, he's not here, and he's really come back. He was involved in a horrific car accident, fiery, scary. And he said it took a long time. The bumps and bruises healed. He got out of there, was so fortunate, but mentally to come back and be ready to run. And he's having an unbelievable performance. And Casey Klingler right there. And Parker Wolf, how about a shout out to the Tar Heels and UNC? What a run he's making.
Alex Mayer made a huge move at this point in the race at the Cowboy Jamboree. I'm watching him right now. He was in 9th place. If he can be on the front end of that second pack, that is the points that OSU desperately needs right now.
If you can judge by facial expressions, Charlie Hicks looked the least uncomfortable going up the hill.
He needs to do this right now, though. He still has Nico Young right there with him. He has to power up this final hill and make sure that he can run that kick out of Nico Young, because we know Nico Young is fast.
He's still very much there, though. You know, you take a few hard steps and you're on his shoulder. I feel like this is a measured move right now for Nico. Nico just wants to be able to sniff it. He just wants to be able to see it a little bit with 200 meters when they turn the corner and are there.
So they've dropped Bosley pretty much when it comes through here, and now Charlie, he's got that last 200-meter hill to go through, but Oklahoma State, we saw Rodriguez and we saw Mayer make their move, and right now, with 400 meters left, quarter of a mile, Oklahoma State's guys have come through. This is going to be those two. BYU, they've dropped a spot, but they can still make some hay. And Stanford, I don't know, they've got time to get this done. They don't have, I think they're run out of real estate.
The crowd just went wild behind us when it popped up on screen that OSU is now in first place. It's only by 4 points. It's going to be everything in the kick. And I don't know if the coaches have communicated to their athletes how close it is going to be, but you need to bleed in order to get every single body right now across the line as quickly as possible.
So we'll remind people as the team scores come up on the left-hand side, those aren't official until they do, the double checking and the recounting. But what a day it could be for Oklahoma State. You could win a national championship, and the football team later today could go down to Norman and put a beating on OU for Bedlam, and that would make it one of the all-time great days. Here comes the kick, and Charlie's got a little grit to him. Nico Young giving chase.
Charles Hicks looking out of the corner of his eye, not really turning back, but there, Nico Young took a look back. It is Charlie Hicks that has to be the one to beat, and he looks good right now. Nico Young's going hard, though.
Charlie Hicks, Nerd Nation, first across the line. Now where his teammates come, NAU. They've got a low stick at 2. Bosley trying to hang on. OSU coming hard. Dylan Jacobs is in there. Iverson. NAU comes through. That's a good spot for him. A couple of Cowboys come through. Dylan Jacobs is there. Wolf. Misidentified. Graham Blanks. My apologies. Graham Blanks, who, by the way, you said was going to be a guy.
Fode Messoudui from Morocco for OSU, an absolutely huge race for him in 4th. But where is Victor Shitsana? He's coming down the straightaway right now. Every single body counts. All of these guys in the team score.
Kiprop from Arkansas comes through. There goes 2 more Cowboys across the line. Looks like they'll get their 5 in. Oklahoma State, 5, 8, 11, 29, 30 in the preliminary. Northern Arizona, a point better at this point as they come through in 35th. The closest race ever here has been 1 point.
These are not official results.
Not official right now.
We're going to go to the camera for every single place. This is so tight.
Wake Forest comes through.
It is important to call out the tiebreaker of what would happen if they end up tying. We go man to man, whoever has the best mano a mano of the top 5, and in that scenario, it would go to Northern Arizona. So if they do tie, NAU would pull it out. We're gonna go to the cameras, see every single body.
We've had a 1-point men's differential. That was back in 1970 when Villanova, that wasn't you, right? You didn't go to school with those people in 1970?
No, I didn't.
Villanova, 1 point better than Oregon in 1970. It was 85-86. Here we're looking at an 82-83. And did Mike Smith get the better? No, we've done some readjusting now. As more guys come in, now it's Oklahoma State that's come through by a bunch as they reconnoiter the numbers here and redo some of the arithmetic and the math. And Oklahoma State now with a comfortable margin.
I mean, can you imagine?
So what was close, there's Murph coming across for Arkansas. There's an Oregon Duck under new management, right, with Jerry Schumacher running that program for the first time. There's another Tennessee Volunteer.
But how much fun, Kyle, to win on your home course, if that is what the case is. But right now we're looking at this score, and it's going back and forth and back and forth. What a day.
So this is not like high school. We do not go to the 6th man here. Again, the tiebreaker is we compare man versus man in the top 5. Northern Arizona gets 1 point. Their first man was ahead of Oklahoma State. They get a 2nd point. Their second man was ahead. Oklahoma State gets a point on the 3rd. So right now it's 2-1. Northern Arizona gets them at the 4th position for 3 out of the top 5. So if it does remain as a tiebreaker, would go to NAU. And we said it beforehand, we needed Brody Hasty to come through, and boy did he ever. He finished in 25th place.
And if it was a 6th man, that would go to Oklahoma State, because their 6th man right now under the current scoring as guys coming across the line would be 50th to 79th. But we're not, this isn't high school anymore. We're running 10K and we're running for the national championship.
I knew it was going to happen.
Right now, as it looks through, Northern Arizona, Oklahoma State tied to be settled by a tiebreaker, which is, as Kyle laid out, would go to the Lumberjacks. BYU comes through 3rd, and Stanford sitting there in 4th. We got some math and some accounting to do. I was told there'd be no math. No, there's math here to come through. Charlie Hicks, undisputed. He's the champ, the team champ. We're going to add him up, bring it to you when we return here to the NCAA Cross Country Championships. Welcome back to the NCAA Cross Country Championships. I want to tell you about the FCS Championship Selection Show that takes place tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern on ESPNU. Followed by the NCAA Field Hockey Championship. That's 1:30 p.m. also on the U. For more information, visit NCAA.com, the home for all 90 NCAA championships. And the first championship every year is the Cross Country Championship. Kyle, this was it was a nail biter the whole way. We're still not quite done with this thing.
255 men sprinting their butts off to get it started, but these 3, Charles Hicks, Drew Bosley, and Nico Young broke away early, and they did not look back. Charles Hicks said beforehand, I don't have a great kick, I'm going to make it hurt, and he did exactly that with over 2K out, and you see him cross the finish line. First winner in Stanford history.
Take a look at that finish area in our broadcast position as we go through those that Charlie and those that ran behind him. Nico Young and Drew Brisley, that was the 3-man race. Jacobs comes through strong all the way down to Kai Robinson, his teammate. 2 for Oklahoma State, as we're still making sure on the math for the team title. But one thing that is unmistakable was the guy that came across the line first, Charlie Hicks. If you could try to put into words for me the juxtaposition of being that tired and that elated all at the same time.
Oh, it's something else. It's something else. Not looking forward to answering these questions because my brain is absolute mush right now. You know, the cold and the pace really does that to you. But, yeah, I guess I can't complain.
What do you have in your hand?
Oh, my gosh. So first ever time I've been given something like this. It is so cool. A really nice man over there handed me the shell that started the race. That was my first national championship. So, yeah, this is going up on the wall for sure.
What was the decision to make that move with a couple K out and say, I want to go even faster?
So first of all, all credit to the NAU guys. I mean, they did 99% of the work over that race. They made it hard, and I really appreciated that. But I did notice kind of in those back stretches that every time we kind of went up the hill, I felt them fade back a little bit and myself surge up. And I kind of started to realize that they might be expending a little bit more energy than might allow a fast last K. So I went around, I tested it that second lap. I felt them coming back again, was a little patient, felt them coming back over the next hill, patient, went up on the sort of third hill, and then I kind of just wanted to run from the gun. And in my mind, that's always the best way to win it, because you don't want to have a single % left over.
Charles, you have one of the best YouTube channels in the NCAA. Is this going to be good for your channel?
Absolutely. If I ever get to posting again, I know my subscribers are always hounding me on Strava, and I love them for it because it always gets me off my butt. But there's got to be some kind of a season breakdown on the way. But yeah, love everybody that subscribed, and I really appreciate it.
How do you celebrate this win, Charles?
First of all, I'm going to celebrate it with my coach and teammates. You know, Ricardo Santos has done an amazing job sort of taking this program. You know, right when I came in, we had kind of a lack of identity. We didn't know where we were headed, and I think this race is a good testament to, you know, the direction that we're headed in. And then second of all, I want to celebrate with my coach, Kyle Merber, my fantasy cross-country coach, and celebrate getting him at least 1 point. But yeah,
Thanks,
really,
Al.
it's just my coach and teammates.
So 14th All-American, seems very cool. 4th, hey, I'm in the top 5, seems awesome. You're the national champ, congratulations. That's a really good title.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Charlie Hicks, the Stanford team-wise didn't quite come where they expected, came in number 1. They're going to finish 4th. When we come back, it is the champion, Northern Arizona, Oklahoma State, both with 83. The tiebreaker will be settled, and we'll be back. Great wide shot of the finish line here, and that's where the awards ceremony will be. What we don't know right now is who's going to get the gold trophy here as you look at the finish line and the awards area, the big billboards as we come through. So this remains unofficial. There's the tiebreak. That's Kyle. Take us through it again real quick on how the tiebreaker is and why right now we have NAU at 3-2.
So we go head-to-head at each position. So NAU gets a point for the first. They get a second at the second position. Oklahoma beat them at the third. So it's 2-1, but then Northern Arizona beat them at the fourth position, and that's all you need. You get 3 out of 5, and you know, now you're the winner.
So we have NAU that's literally just to the left of our broadcast. They went earlier, and you saw them celebrate. Somebody had told them that they had the results were official. Those numbers right now are official, but there is a protest that's being lodged. We're trying to get more information on that. We don't want to go, it could be Oklahoma State, obviously trying to see what they can do here to come through, but they said they're just rereading some final finish pictures to see where these guys are. It's that close. It's 83 points apiece. We know BYU is in third. Another great podium finish, another great team from Ed Eyestone. Stanford, the #1 ranked team coming in, runs to 195. Kyle, regardless of, as we get to the front, Stanford can't be pleased that that's how this came out. This is not even close to what they were looking for.
Unfortunately, it just didn't go their way today, but it also did go the way for other teams, and that's, you know, it's not just a matter of how you perform, it's how do others perform. And when we look at what NAU did, you know, person to person, Nico and Drew up front ran away. They were very strong up front, but next is Santiago Prosser. He was 19th. This is a guy who earlier in the season was not expected to necessarily be 19th. I mean, he was 33rd at the Nutty Comb. He was 39th here earlier in the year in Jamboree. So for him to come out and be 19th is huge. And then we said beforehand, George Cush, his 5th NCAA championship. Is he going to come in and is he going to run like a veteran? And that's exactly what he did, finishing in 39th place. And, you know, of course, another guy was Brody Hasty. We said this beforehand, you know, we need these two guys who've done it before to do it again. And Brody Hasty coming out 25th. They just ran out of their mind. So, you know, we can look and try to dissect what other teams could have done better, but if it does hold that it was NAU, NAU just ran fully up to their potential and then some.
They're so calm, and you know, I'm even looking over here as they, you know, got excited that they thought they won, and now they're waiting. You know, I'm looking at Mike Smith, and that's what he brings to this program. He brings this calm, confident, And I think we might have some news.
I mean, anxious moments. You can finish your thought there. I think we have it. Listen, we'll keep a camera here on NAU because I feel like it's been the things have been properly adjudicated, and the Lumberjacks are going to find out that if it's again that they have won. So Mike Smith, could it be a second three-peat when we go through? I am getting the thumbs up that it is officially Northern Arizona University again. And bless his heart and his team, Dave Smith, who had aimed for this championship, the work he put in there to build this course, the work he did to get this championship here not once but twice, and to get it here and to have such a great team and to run that fast. And there's right there, Dave Smith on the right talking to Mike Smith on the left. And it's certainly conciliatory there from Dave Smith. And there it is. Listen, if Kyle Merber gives you a trophy, you know it is now official, and they've done it again.
Wow.
He talked about they did not have the early season affirmation in some of the meets they had, that they were growing, that they were building, that they were coming on, but it took a while, and they finally they're like Jordan now. They have 6 rings when it comes through here. Only the BYU broke them up a few years back. They come down off the mountain, but they're still kings of the mountain.
They said they had momentum. That's what the big word was, momentum coming into this race. A lot of people doubted them, but they did not. And that momentum is what got them through that finish line today. Oh, what elation for them. Pretty awesome. There's Mike Smith's wife, Rachel Smith, also an Olympian herself. Look at that, 6 times. Pretty cool to see that they can continue to build this dynasty that they've already built.
I saw Coach Mike Smith when he heard the news to walk away, and just let, he got emotional, he went over and just let the guys celebrate with each other.
All right, we've got just a few minutes where we got to get off the air at the top of the hour. Let's see if we can pull anybody if Coach Smith can run over here. Little bit of a chaos at the end of this thing as they're trying to figure out. Listen, it is, regardless of the official notes or unofficial, it is the closest finish we've had in the history of the NCAA championship cross country. We've never had a tie before. As I said, back in 1970, we had a 1-point win. What we don't have is the 150-point win that Stanford had in 2003, 24 to 174. And so we're going to try to. We would like to give everybody their due, but try to squeeze this in real quick before we get off the air. Hey, boys, you just ran 10K. I hate to ask you to hustle, but we're going to need you to run over there. Get going. Pick a spokesman. Where's Nico? Nico, get in front of the microphone. No, or Mike.
Go ahead.
There you go. Yeah, Nico, you speak for all. Okay. Hey, second place is great individually. You know what's really awesome? Another national championship. How are you guys the underdog? How do you pull it off again?
I mean, we knew what we were going to do, and we came out to the course today, and we executed exactly that. I mean, that was, whatever place that was, ended up being first today, and we're super pumped about that. I don't know.
Now, did you guys know how close it was when you were out there? I'm thinking of guys like Brody and George. Like, were you aware that every single body mattered as much as you did?
Yeah.
George! Yeah, absolutely. It always matters.
Yeah, it always.
Everybody matters.
Yeah, it always matters.
I feel like we always
knew. In the back
some
sections, you hear people.
All right, NAU, you guys get to take another one of those. Your trophy case up there is fantastic. And Flagstaff, thank you so much. Congratulations. Thanks everybody for watching the 2022 NCAA Cross Country Championships. For Kyle Merber, for Kerry Tullison, for our entire crew from the Tracktown Productions, I'm John Anderson. Thanks so much for watching. Coming up next on ESPNU, Harvard-Yale football, the big game. See the cross country trophy presentation. It's over on ESPN3. We're back in just a moment. Oh yeah, you can cut loose now. Mike Smith's always really measured, but now he's a champ one more time.